I recently came back from a 2-week trip to Japan in search of retro video games. And during that trip, I traveled to the cities of Tokyo, Kyoto, and Osaka. Now, if you've been following my Japan series, you can see all the places and all the video game stores that I traveled to, but you'll notice that I actually didn't show all the stuff that I picked up. The reason why I did that is because I wanted to show everything in a single video, so that way you can just kind of see it all together, and I can spend a little bit of time on each of the items that I picked up. If you're just tuning into the channel and you haven't seen my videos of my trip to Japan, I've linked them all down below in the video description. Now, I got a ton of different stuff from a whole bunch of different retro consoles and even other things that aren't really video game related, like movies. Now, one of the things I was sort of struggling with was how should I show you all the stuff that I got? Should I sort it by how much they cost, from what city I got them from what store I got them from, or by console? And what I ended up deciding to do was to show you what I got from the cheapest item all the way to the most expensive item. I spent quite a bit more money than I had been planning, and I really do have to thank Sendico because they did sponsor the trip, and really the entire trip wouldn't have been possible without them. So I got to give a huge shout out to Sendico, and I'll talk a little bit more about them later on in the video. All right, so without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so I actually have a Excel spreadsheet with everything here that I got, but we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get started with the cheapest item that I got, and it cost $3.57. I did all the converting from yen to dollars, and when I was there, it was about 140 yen per dollar. So I basically just applied that to all the all the yen amounts for each item. So the first item was $3.57, and it's Biohazard 2 for the original PlayStation. And as you can see, the box art is a little bit different. It's 2 discs, just like the American release. Yeah, $3.57, super cheap. Now, the next item that I got cost $7.86, almost double the Biohazard 2 cost. And that, interestingly enough, is the original Biohazard for PlayStation. So yeah, this is just the game that started it all. And yeah, nothing too special about this. I do like the cases that the original PlayStation games came in Japan. They're different than the regular Jewel CD cases that we got here in the US. But yeah, so this cost a whopping $7.86. So, all right, let's go to the next one. Now, the next item that I got was for the WonderSwan Color, and that is Final Fantasy, the original Final Fantasy, but a remake version for the WonderSwan. But yeah, so this cost also $7.86. Very, very inexpensive, and it's complete in box. So Final Fantasy for the WonderSwan. All right, so the next item that I got is Biohazard Director's Cut. And you're probably starting to see a trend here. I did get a lot of Biohazard or Resident Evil games. I wanted to get sort of the entire set for the PlayStation, and some of the other consoles, which we'll get to a little bit later. And again, I got this. This actually cost $10 even. I mean, it's just amazing. Great condition, and yeah, happy to have this. So, all right, next item. So the next item I got is Biohazard 2, and yeah, and I swear, guys, I got other stuff other than Resident Evil games. $10, I mean, I just had to pick it up. So, all right, let's move on to the next item. Yeah, so a lot of these games I do own the North American version, but I know them well enough that I think I could probably play the Japanese versions. But the next one I got was Super Smash Bros. For the Nintendo 64. And really, the main reason I got this was just the box art. The box art looks fantastic. And it's complete in box, so this does come with the manual. But the North American version that I do have, I have it loose. It's just a loose cart. And this I paid for, this was $11.79. But for me, I think it's a great deal and glad to have it. So, all right. All right, so this next item cost $12.73. And it's Biohazard Code Veronica for the Sega Dreamcast. And yeah, it's still one of my favorite Resident Evil games of all time. Yeah, great title, and super happy to have it. So here we have our first console, and it is an original WonderSwan. And this one has a bit of damage on the screen, so this is like a perfect candidate for a screen mod, and I do plan on refurbishing the unit, and yeah, got a great deal on it. This cost $14.29. I think that's a great deal, and again, I'm glad to have this. I will be modding it, kind of a translucent green color. Yeah. All right, so this next item is pretty interesting. It's for a pretty uncommon console, which actually didn't have a lot of games come out for it, and it's Battle Ace for the Super Graphics, which is a derivation of the PC Engine, the regular PC Engine. But this, I guess, was sort of supposed to have arcade ports, or I guess it was supposed to kind of be like a arcade at home experience type console. And the hue cards themselves, I believe, yeah, they look pretty much exactly the same as your regular PC Engine or TurboGrafx hue cards. If that focuses, there it goes. But yeah, very awesome. And this I paid for $15.59. Again, glad to have this, and let's move right along. All right, so the next item is a RPG for the Super Nintendo, Chrono Trigger. This is an absolute classic. I have a loose cart version, North American version. Yeah, so glad to have this. This cost $15.71. Again, I mean, a complete bargain in my opinion. And let's move right along. If you're a longtime viewer of the channel, you know that I love Laserdisc. I love the format, and I love watching movies on Laserdisc. It's just really, really cool. It's a really fun format. They come in these sort of LP record size sleeves, which they look fantastic. And oh my gosh, they were incredibly cheap. And I just bought a bunch. I found a whole crate, or several crates of them at a hard off. These are actually quite heavy, and so I couldn't get as many as I wanted. I wanted to buy so many, but of course, you know, I had limited space in my suitcases, and I actually had to buy an extra suitcase in order to bring everything back, which was a bit of a bummer. So definitely recommend, if you're gonna travel to Japan and buy stuff, definitely bring an extra suitcase that's empty. But I'm just gonna quickly go over the movies that I got. So obviously, Silence of the Lambs, great film. And actually the other really, really nice thing is, and it was hard for me to tell, but a lot of these movies are actually in full English dialogue, or the audio is in English with Japanese subtitles. You can't turn the subtitles off, unfortunately, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. So yeah, almost all these except for one is dubbed in Japanese, which stinks because it's dubbed in Japanese with Japanese subtitles. But the rest of these are all in English, so I can watch them, which is great. So Silence of the Lambs, I got Jurassic Park, Blade Runner. I actually already own the American version of this, and but now I have the Japanese. It comes with the Obi little sleeve here, which is awesome. So, but yeah, Blade Runner, Back to the Future. Now, unfortunately, this is the movie that I got that's in Japanese. The audio is in Japanese as well as the subtitles. So I really can't. I mean, it's kind of fun. I've watched this movie so many times, so I know what's happening. But unfortunately, with this, I can't understand it because it's dubbed in Japanese. Not a big deal. Still glad to have it. Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, another classic. English, it's great. RoboCop, again, another great movie. Top Gun, classic. And then I got another Blade Runner. Maybe one of these was a director's cut, I forget. I think maybe this might be the director's cut. I'm not sure, it might say it sort of in here, but another version of Blade Runner. So I have like 3 versions of Blade Runner. And then I got this movie. I'm not sure what it is, but it's definitely a Studio Ghibli film or anime. And this was a really nice gatefold, so I got it because it looks nice. I'm not sure which anime this is. I've never seen it before. And I actually still haven't watched this one, but again, it's probably in Japanese. It probably doesn't have English subtitles. That'd be amazing if it did, but yeah, again, I put these in sleeves, but these ranged anywhere from 200 yen, I think, to like 500 yen, which is incredibly cheap. So that's like about $3 to $5 each, and I couldn't help myself, and I bought a whole bunch of them. So yeah, Laserdisc movies. In total, for all these, I paid $18.86. So I think that was an absolute steal. All right, enough about the Laserdiscs. let's move along. All right, so the next thing I got, Biohazard 2 for the Dreamcast. This is the Value Plus edition, which I'm not really quite sure what that means. I think maybe, oh, it came with a demo. It came with a demo for Code Veronica. And this is actually kind of expensive. So this was $19.29. And again, complete in box. Glad to have it. All right, so this is a PC Engine game. And this, again, we're starting to get a little bit into the more expensive side of things. This is Vigilante for the PC Engine, but this is basically just a beat 'em up, side scroller, kind of like Streets of Rage. But yeah, glad to have this. It's a pretty cool game for the PC Engine. Again, complete with the manual in absolutely beautiful condition. So when I was looking for games, a couple goals that I had was, one, I did want to get a lot of the Biohazard games or the Resident Evil games, but also did want to get sort of a variety of different consoles. So I did get a game for the Neo Geo CD, and this is Puzzle Bobble. This cost $22. Not too bad. I do believe they support all region languages. This might actually play in English. I don't think the console is region locked. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, let me know down below in the comments. But yeah, Puzzle Bobble for the Neo Geo CD. All right, so the next thing I got is Biohazard 0 for the Nintendo GameCube. And really, I really kind of just love the way the GameCube games come packaged in Japan. They have this nice little sleeve. And actually, the really interesting thing is, so this is a 2-disc set. And one of the really interesting things is that these games, not all the Biohazard, but Biohazard 0 and I believe Biohazard Remake, both came with a memory card. So that's kind of one of the things to look for if you're looking for a complete in-box Biohazard 0 or Biohazard Remake. A complete version, I do believe, comes with a memory card. All right, Biohazard 0 for the GameCube. All right, so the next item I got, no surprise, Biohazard for the GameCube. Again, this is also complete with the memory card. And actually, you know what? I do believe these also came with stickers. But, oh, yep, there they are. I actually didn't check for that, but, oh, there's also an insert. But yeah, man, I really love the way they package these. These just look awesome. So yeah, this is a complete, and the sticker is unused, so very cool. Glad to have that. This cost $25.59. And yeah, all right. All right, so the next one I got, in keeping with the survivor horror genre, is Silent Hill 2 for the PlayStation 2. And honestly, one of the greatest survivor horrors of all time, hands down. I'm glad to have the Japanese version. I haven't tried it, but I imagine probably the audio dialogue is in English. I imagine all the text is in Japanese. But again, I played this game many, many times, and I probably shouldn't have an issue playing the Japanese version. But regardless, glad to have this in the collection. All right, so the next item is another hardware, or another game console rather, and that is another WonderSwan. And now this is a sort of special edition one. First of all, this is a WonderSwan Color, which followed the original WonderSwan. This is the Final Fantasy version. So I believe this came bundled with Final Fantasy, which I also bought and I showed you earlier. And I'll have a lot of fun modding this one. So I really love these WonderSwans. They look awesome. All right, so I think this game sort of rounds out all the Biohazard games for the original PlayStation, and that is Biohazard 3. I couldn't find what version this was, but this is sort of, I don't know if this is like a greatest hits. You can notice the artwork looks a little interesting. I believe this was not the original released Biohazard 3 for the PlayStation, and yeah, very, very cool. All right, so the next item that I got is a console, and it's a Wii U. And I've never owned a Wii U. I've never actually even played the Wii U, but it was just so cheap I had to pick it up. It was $31.43, and yeah, it doesn't come with a power supply, so I will need to buy a power supply, which kind of stinks. Regardless, glad to have this. it was incredibly cheap, so I just had to pick it up. All right, so the next item here is a Neo Geo AES game. And I actually, I found these, I got a few of these, and I got them all in one store. And without doing much research, I was always under the impression that these were very expensive games. But what I didn't realize that in Japan, this was actually, I think, more common than it was in North America. So their games there, I do believe, are not, they're still expensive, but not as expensive as their American versions. And when I saw these at, it was at a hard off, I bought them all because there was like 6 of them. And I believe in so this one here, the prices ranged from $31.43, so this was $31.43, but they got as high as $62, and I'll show you those a little bit later. But man, I'm always fascinated by this console. I just think it's such a cool looking console, especially the games. The carts are just massive, and they have like 2 PCBs, which is really, really cool. But yeah, so this is the Art of Fighting 2 for the Neo Geo AES. All right, so this next game that I got is also a Neo Geo AES game. It was also priced at $31.43, so the same as the previous one. And this is Shin Samurai Spirits. So yeah, another Neo Geo AES game. Again, picked it up with all the other ones that I got. And yeah, glad to have it in the collection. So this is another all-time favorite of mine, and it's Silent Hill for the original PlayStation. This is obviously the one that started the entire franchise. And this is one I was actively looking for, and I had a really, really hard time finding it. But I did eventually find it in Akihabara. And again, the artwork is just so different from the American version. Again, I know the ins and outs of this game. I love it, and I'm glad to have it in the collection. I'm going to go over these 2 things together because they're priced the same. These are 2 more Neo Geo AES games. So we have Fatal Fury Special, and then the original Samurai Spirits. And these both cost $35.36. The Neo Geo AES is definitely one of the consoles I would love to collect for, but it is getting more expensive. And yeah. All right, so these next 2 things that I got, I actually picked them up at the Nintendo store in Osaka. The first one is this kind of Super Mario Brothers 3 themed t-shirt. Again, but it comes in this beautiful box. I'm not even sure if I'm ever going to open this. The box just looks amazing. That's what the shirt looks like. I don't think I'm ever going to open these just because they just look so awesome. These were expensive, but again, I had to have them just simply because of the box. And this was $38.43. Now, the other one also comes in a Famicom style box. Again, the Japanese Famicom style boxes. And this is from a company I've actually heard about years ago, and I've always wanted to buy a shirt from this company, and for a couple reasons. The first reason is, again, I love the box art. And the other reason is that these were actually made and hand printed in Japan. So these are really, really, really high quality shirts. And they were priced as such. So obviously, I was in college at the time when I found out about this company, which is called The King of Games, but I didn't pull the trigger on them because simply they were just so expensive. And this shirt cost $41.43. I mean, it is expensive. I'm not sure if I'm going to open this one either. The box looks so cool. And being the lame person that I am, I probably will keep these in the original box. But yeah. All right, so the next item that I got is a complete, is a complete in-box Nintendo 64. So it's the whole thing. The box isn't in the greatest condition, but the fact that it's complete is awesome. And actually, that's not true. I think it's missing the AV cables. And let me see here. So you can see it's got the manuals, it's got the plastic wrapping, the controller, and the AC adapter in the console. but it's missing the AV cables, which I think would have gone here. And yeah, it's just your standard Nintendo 64. So these next two items I'm going to do together, and it's Biohazard 2 and Biohazard 3 for the GameCube. So I think that completes all the Biohazard games for the GameCube. So these are actually quite a bit more expensive. And Biohazard 2 I picked up for $47.86, so that was quite expensive. And Biohazard 3 was even more expensive at $54.29. But lo and behold, these are actually kind of the less common Biohazard games for the Nintendo GameCube, and I'm absolutely thrilled to have these in my collection. All right, so these are the last two Neo Geo AES games that I got, and they are World Heroes 2 and The Art of Fighting. And these were the two higher priced AES games that I got. And let me see here. So World Heroes 2 was $62.86, and so was The Art of Fighting. So these were both $62.86. So kind of pricey. Again, like I said, I bought them as a set, all 6 of these at a hard off. So this next item is actually really, really interesting. And it's, I think it's sort of an upscaler for the original PlayStation. I'm not entirely sure. I just thought it was a very interesting piece of hardware. And what I'll probably do is I'll probably, show this to Bob. I feel like this is something that he'd be very, very interested in checking out. And I'm not sure if you even heard of it, but it's called a Upscan Converter. It looks like the company is called Waka, W-A-K-A. It was kind of expensive. For this, it cost $67.53. Yeah, all right, let's go to the next item. All right, so this next thing is, again, also a pretty interesting piece of hardware, and this is the Sega Genesis modem, or the Sega Mega Drive modem. And just to think that you were able to connect to the internet during the Sega generation, or the Sega Genesis generation, is really remarkable. And I know we got something similar in the US, but I saw this one and I just think it looks really, really cool. It's a really interesting piece of technology. And this I picked up for $73.38. So this was actually kind of on the expensive side. I'm not sure why this was so expensive, but this is a completely obsolete piece of technology. We really can't use this anymore. A very interesting accessory, and yeah, glad to have it. Okay, so we are pretty much at the last two items, and these are the two most expensive things that I got, and really kind of the two things that I'm the most excited about. So the first one is the Super Graphics PC Engine. So if you remember, I got a Super Graphics game, and that's mostly to really test this unit out, so I actually have a game to play. But what I do plan on doing with this, and I probably will do a video, maybe even a live stream, I do plan on refurbishing this. What I've noticed with a lot of PC Engine consoles are that the capacitors do tend to leak. So one of the first things I want to do is open this up, completely refurbish the console, and replace the capacitors. But this one was $232.46. I got this in the Surugaya in Akihabara. So really excited to refurbish this and play some Super Graphics games. But all right. All right, so now it's the moment that you've all sort of probably been waiting for, and it's what is the most expensive thing that I got during my trip in Japan. And if you remember in my last video in my Japan series where I visited Tokyo, I did visit a store called Beep, and I did show you an item that I purchased, but I didn't reveal what it was. I just showed you the massive bag that I picked it up in, and I even managed to get a picture of the store associate who sold it to me. And I asked you all to guess what you all thought it was. And to my surprise, a lot of you actually got the answer right. I was reading the comments. I always read the comments. And a lot of you guessed what it was. And if you have any last minute guesses, if you didn't watch that video, put it down below in the comments. And but Now, it's time to unveil what the most expensive thing I bought in Japan, and it's right down here. So, oh, and it's heavy. And there it is. I can't put it on the table, otherwise it'll probably block me or the microphone. But this is it's actually a computer. It's not really a console, but as you can see, it is the Sharp X68000 computer. And I'm just gonna put it off here to the side. And what made this computer so special is that it actually had a lot of arcade ports made for it. So you can play these games and have an arcade experience at home. Not only did it come with the tower, let me get in focus, but it also came with the keyboard. And this by itself is pretty expensive. These can go anywhere between, I think, like 150, 200 bucks. So which actually brings me to the topic of price and what I actually ended up paying for the keyboard, which came with the tower, the X68000 tower, altogether was $712. So yeah, this thing was really, really expensive, but it was one of the items I was looking for during the trip. It was high on my priority list. I had a couple consoles that were on there, two of which I didn't pick up. The other was a Panasonic Q GameCube, and the other was a Wonder Mega, the original Sega Wonder Mega. But yeah, I'm super glad to have this in the collection. I think it's such a cool device, and I'm excited to load games on it and play some arcade ports. And yeah, so guys, that's everything I got during this trip to Japan. And I do have to give a huge shout out to Sendico. Without them, this entire trip would not have been possible. And really, Sendico is a great tool. You don't have to travel all the way to Japan to find all this great retro gaming stuff. You can actually use their website, and they just have a great platform for you to bid on Japanese auctions and really pick up pretty good deals, and maybe even better deals than the ones I got while I was out there. So yeah, a huge thank you to Sendico, and a big thank you to you guys. I really hope you enjoyed this series. I had a blast making all these videos, and if you did enjoy the series, give this video a thumbs up. And if you haven't watched my other videos, I'll link them down below so you can see my journey through the cities of Osaka, Kyoto, and Tokyo. All right, so guys, that is everything I got during my trip in Japan. I had a complete blast making these videos, and I really do hope you enjoyed them. And yeah, I will see you all in the next one. Take care.